Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons. We're going to continue talking about the epic Dungeons & Dragons canon hardback, Vecna Eva Ruin, Chapter 4. Let's continue talking about Chapter 4. Where are we at? So at this point, the player characters have gone up the left foot into the left foot, up the left leg, through the torso, and they have made it. They have made it to the, they have made it all the way to the gray matter engine, okay? And when they and this is the brain, this is the heart, and this has the rod piece. This has the third of the rod of seven, third piece of the rod of 7 pieces, right? And so this is very it's a very exciting, like, you know, we're at the climax, right, of this chapter, right? And we're about to and either the player characters are and I really like this. One of two things. This chapter is structured so that one of two things happens, right? The player characters get the rod of 7 pieces, or they die. Period. End of sentence. One or the other, right? Like, there's a possibility there might be some other mix, right? Like some of the characters get the rod, but one dies. But it's going to be rod of 7 pieces, everybody happy, or nothing and death, right? It is a very distinct ending, and I really love that. So they reach the gray matter engine, right? It has the rod of 7 pieces in it. It is powered by gray matter. The gray matter engine is powered by gray matter fluid, which has unusual, strange, magical effects, right? So all of this is happening, right? And then at that point, the characters reach a point where they have everything they need, and at that point, they reach the gray matter engine, and they encounter Landro. And this is a problem. This is very bad. The name of the Colossus is Landro, and the name of this gray matter fluid entity is Landro, right? Which I really don't like that, right? What is, you know, everybody should have everything should have a distinct name. But at this point, the characters they encounter a gray matter fluid sentient entity named Landro. And it is a swirling mass in the size and shape of a human, right? And it introduces itself as Landro. And it says, hey, I'm actually the pilot of Landro, right? I am actually not the captain, but the pilot. Now, the reality is Landro has been fused into Mount Ironrot. And so at this point, we really can't do anything, you know, like, because we're all kind of stuck here. But I've been here, and then it interacts with the characters, right? Now, what's really interesting is it says to the characters, hey, I am a sentient being. I'm trapped in this gray matter fluid. This gray matter fluid is essentially the oil, and it's both the lubricant and the fuel of the gray matter engine, right? But I am a sentient being trapped in this, you know, gray matter fluid, and I'm also trapped here in this colossi. But if you go all the way back down to the foot, you could get an id crystal, right? Now, it tells us in the book that this id crystal is the same as an elemental gem, right? And so what Landro says is that if you get this id crystal, right, I can put my sentience into that id crystal, and then you can take me out of Landro the Colossi, right? And so let's do it this way. Let's say Colossus Landro and Entity Landro. So Entity Landro says, if you get this id crystal, you can make it so that I no longer am, you know, so we can make it so that I am, I'm free. I can be free of this Colossus, right? I could leave the Colossus, and I could lead a rich, abundant life. I can go different places, and I probably will get a different body, right? Like, he could be put into, he could be put into a Warforged, because Warforgeds have their own soul, right? Like, which is, again, like, there's so much spiritual aspects. Like, Warforged have souls, right? They are beings, right? They're not just constructs, right? They are constructs, but they're constructs, and that's the thing. That's what a Warforged is. A Warforged is a construct with a soul, right? And that's why they count as player characters. That's why they're playable, right? Because at this point, absolutely nothing that doesn't have a soul is playable as a player character. That is a deep, profound spiritual statement of Dungeons & Dragons, in my humble opinion, right? The idea that Dungeons & Dragons doesn't have things to say about spiritual matters is ludicrous, is absolutely ludicrous, right? So I think that was really kind of a big deal to process, right? I thought that was really fascinating, right? So at this point, the player characters now have to decide if they're going to help Landro, right? And so in order to do that, they actually need to assist Landro, and they need to choose, and there's a choice. They're like, oh, hey, Landro, we're here for the rod piece, and you can go kick rocks. We're not going to literally encounter every ghost we're not going to re-encounter all the monsters of this Colossus to help you escape. Or they're going to be like, we will literally redo this entire adventure. Go from top to bottom, and then back from the top to the bottom. We're going to go from the top down to the bottom, and then come back up here, right? So literally you would be